you take your time, you attend the interviews, but you don't get called for those interviews. One thing, there are things that you need to know, you need to set right, and there are specific things that you need to look into before you get to that interview. So today I want us to focus. I won't spend a lot of time on other stuff. So let us dig deep into it. So once you've been called for the interview, you need to be, these are some of the reasons as to why you should be cheerful. Number one, your CV worked. Number two, you are over the biggest hurdle, that is securing the interview. Number three, the employer wants to know more about you. You have prepared and known your selling points. So you have prepared answers for predictable questions, and it's a learning experience. So anytime you get an interview, at least you need to tick those boxes. You have a captivating CV. The employer would like to know more about you. So the first thing that you need to look into are the transferable skills. And when we talk about transferable skills here, these are skills learned in which you can use in one context, and then you transfer them. Like whatever in your previous job, the skills that made you successful, you can transfer them to the job you are interviewing for to make you the best candidate for that. So the skills can be acquired through studies, they can be acquired through employment, or even voluntary workshops. Some of us acquire these skills through hobbies, sports, and etc. So some of these are soft transferable skills are skills like oral communication skills. In today's job, be it remote, be it on site, or even a permanent contract, the employers are looking for somebody who is able to communicate clearly. So we have like oral communication skills are always key. And these are some of the transferable skills that the employers are looking for. We have teaching a team, you can conduct lab meetings, you can conduct presentation at conferences, and there are a lot of stuff that you can do. Number two, we have teamwork. Are you somebody who is able to work with a team? Are you somebody who is able to organize and collaborate projects? So every time you get that confirmation in the interview. These are some of the stuff that your employers are looking for, and there are skills that you should work on a continuous basis to get to understand and to get to learn how to execute, especially the oral communication and the teamwork. So what are some of the common skills that will make you the best candidate for any job? Number one, you must be adaptable and flexible. In that, when you're employed in a new environment, are you able to adapt to that environment? Are you able to, are you flexible enough to maybe blend with people? Administrative and organizational skills. This is for people looking for the HR jobs. Do you possess that skills? We have analysis, problem solving, computer literacy, instruction. We have the knowledge transfer. We have networking, numeracy. You cannot possess all these skills, but any person seeking to get a job, at least you should have at least 5 of these skills. But the key one that we need to talk about is the communication skills and the team player. Those are the core ones that employers are looking for. So are you able to execute this kind of skills? Are you able to execute this kind of skills? Sorry. So let us look into this. What are the interviews for? Why is it that the employers read your CV, they've been contented, but still they are calling you for an interview? One thing we need to know is the number one reason for this interview is that employer wants to establish whether you have the competency of the job. And when I talk about the competency of a job, this is something that I've been reiterating every time I have these sessions, or every time I have a coaching session with the clients that I deal with. Some of us believe that once we have the CV and once we've mastered the art of our CV, this one will gain us favors with our employers. So when we go to the interview room, our CVs will speak for us. But still, the employer wants to know, If your CV is taken off the table, are you able to express yourself at the standard in which your CV is? So if you paid a career coach to live, as in if you paid a career coach to work on your CV, it is still your core mandate to ensure that at least you can express yourself, because some of us, we have good grammars. I've been sitting in interviews whereby somebody has a very superb CV. The CV speaks out for itself. Whatever I'm looking for, I can get it when I want. But now when they come into the interviewing room, they are totally opposite, or they are totally different from the people we are inviting for these CVs. So always ensure that you've mastered your CV, and in the process, I think in the long run, we are going to see the CV that you have, how can you utilize the CV, match it to the job description, so that when you go to the interview, you'll be speaking the same language as as the interviewing panel. Number two, they want to establish your knowledge, interest, and motivation. You've described in your CV you are a team player. You've described in your CV that there are stuff that you can do. You are skilled. Maybe you have the leadership skill. You have the team working skills. You have the problem solving skills. So these employers want to say, yes, you describe this in your CV and in your cover letter, but are you able to execute them one-on-one? They also want to find out what you are like. So when you go there to sell yourself, who are they dealing with? Are they dealing with somebody who is likable? Are they dealing with somebody who maybe is people's people? So these are some of the stuff that people look into when they when they call you for an interview. Now, the last one is they're also giving you an opportunity to find more about them. It's a two-way process. As they find more about you, they also give you an opportunity to find more about them. And yes, I'll give, let me just do the presentation. I'll give some chances so that at least we can ask questions. Thank you, Brian. Meanwhile, we can utilize the chat session. Meanwhile, you can utilize the chat sessions. If there is a point, I'll come to address. So the employers want to give you an opportunity to know them. And this is why sometimes it's always important to ask questions during the interview, so that at least you can get accustomed to the organization. So how are you supposed to prepare for this interview? How are you supposed to prepare for this interview? Effective interview preparation. Number one, it enables you make a good first impression. And when I talk about good first impression, like they want to know you in a person. Are you presentable? Are you somebody who can express themselves so well? Are you somebody who, at least, like this depends. The first time you meet somebody, the way he reacts, the way he talks to you, the way this person interacts with you will leave that first impression. And in most cases, it only takes like 2 minutes. The first question, when you're asked, tell us about yourself, that question always is about 50% of the interview. Because from the way you tell these people who you are, it gives them now an opportunity to evaluate you on a lot of stuff. Number two, effective interview preparation enables you to prepare and predict questions. There are these questions that are a must, that they have to appear. For this, like for instance, you have to be told to maybe tell us about yourself. Why do you think you're the best candidate for this job? What are some of the weaknesses that you have? So there are some general questions that in every interview you attend, these are questions that you are likely to encounter. An effective interview preparation, it enables you respond to selectors' criteria. For instance, once the job advert was done, you maybe for some reason you saved the job advert somewhere, and you've been called for the interview. At least it can give you some time to go and revisit that job application. Today I was having a candidate. I had a session with, I think, around 5 candidates today that we'll be having interview in the course of next week. And in most cases, some of them were telling me that they were called by the potential employers, but they could. So some Just give me 1 minute. I saw something here. So, sorry about that, guys. When you prepare well for the interview, it helps you because it will give you time to visit the employers. It will give you time to visit uh, maybe the job advert. You go through the requirements, you go through the key skills that they are looking for, so that when you attend that interview, you have a clear visions. Effective interview preparation also enables you answer questions effectively. Because if you attend an interview whereby you are not prepared, sometimes it becomes very difficult because you'll be going there to guess answers. So effective interview preparation is always key. And this is a point I can tell you as job seekers. Every time you apply for these jobs, always try to keep the record somewhere so that when you are called for an interview, through the records, you are able to clearly tell which organization is this. If you're not sure of the position, you can just go Google what the organization does. Because last week I was seated in a session where somebody was called for the interview. They didn't have even a small clue of what the organization was dealing with. They didn't have a clue why they were interviewing. So when they were asked, why are you here? I've been applying for so many positions, so I couldn't clearly tell which position was this. So I've just come for interview. So it's always very paramount that you effectively prepare for that. Effective interview preparation also enables you present skills and experience effectively. Once you've been called for an interview, when you check your job application, there are specific skills that they are looking for. So what happens? It gives you an opportunity now to go and say, they were looking for somebody with problem-solving skills. That's what I have. They're looking for somebody with communication skills. That's what I have. So when you're told to justify why you are qualified for this job, you will be answering their question based on their job advert. And this is what makes the candidate great. One mistake I've seen about so many job seekers that we interview, some of them tend to cram who they are. So when somebody is called for accountant job, I'll give the same description. When the same person is called for the finance job, he will give the same description. Sometimes we forgo to look and check into some of the criteria, especially when it comes to the job advert and what the interviewers want. And it's always important, every time you're called for an interview, have a pen and a paper. Go through that job description. In fact, that is the first thing that you're supposed to go and look for. There are the transferable skills that we talked about, maybe up there. The employer is looking for somebody with IT skills. You can note down the IT skill. The employer is looking for somebody with problem-solving skills. You need to note down the problem-solving skills. They're looking for somebody with maybe the leadership and team building skills. So once you have these skills down, now try relating these skills to your experience, something that you've done before. So what happens when you're told now to give examples, you have a clear example that cuts across, so that when you're told, maybe for instance, describe a situation whereby you had to deal with a difficult client. So what happens? At least you did your preparation well. You've noted down that the skills that they are looking for, and now what is left is when you are told to give an example, you won't be fumbling around. Instead of giving team collaboration, you'll be giving maybe an example of a problem-solving skill that you had. So effective interview preparation enables you present the skills and experience effective because you've gotten time to go through them. Preparation also enables you cope up with unpredictable questions. When I talk about unpredictable questions, even the career coaches, they don't have a clue of the questions that are going to be asked. But once you've done your due diligence, you've done your research, what the organization is dealing with, what they are looking for, and what you are able to bring to the table, it will help you, because now these are when the application questions come, it will make it easier for you, in that you'll get now to present the question as they are coming. It will also help you cope up with increasing probing questions. There are some questions that can make you uncomfortable, especially in an interviewing. And when you're prepared, because the problem, another challenge I face also is, for instance, some of us go to YouTube to watch, some of us hire career coaches to take them through career coaching. So every time I coach the candidates that every time I have a session with a client, before I share the questions and answers, what I do is I try to ensure as much as possible that we first understand. For instance, this is the job advert. Do you understand your role? Number two, the second thing we go through, do you have the relevant qualifications to make you the best candidate for this job? Number three, now we go through, what does this organization do? Number four is, the questions always comes last, after you have understood your core mandate, you've understood what you're supposed to do. So this is now where we come up with the interview question. So it's always paramount, whether you hire a career coach or not. We are going to see, when you're doing your preparations for this interview, what exactly are you supposed to do to ensure that, what exactly are you supposed to do to ensure that you get it right and you don't miss the opportunity to emerge as the best candidate? So, what do you need to research the moment you get an opportunity to attend an interview? Number one, you need to research the post offered. If, for instance, you've been invited as a senior manager or you've been invited into an entry-level position, one thing you need to understand and one thing you need to research, in this particular role, what exactly are they looking for? What do they expect? So this one gives you a clear mandate, even when it comes to now negotiating for your perks, when it comes to selling about yourself. Maybe you might be, because one challenge I find is, in most organizations, we don't do exactly what we are employed to do. You'll find that you'll go in as a project manager, but still you will be added other tasks such as accounting, finance, HR, and sometimes we get mixed up. So we are told to describe the role. You'll find that you'll go outside the jurisdiction and discuss what you are not asked. So it's always paramount to, apart from going through the job advert, always do your research and know, what does the position do? Is it a secretary? What is the role of a secretary? Is it an assistant finance officer? What are these roles? Assistant accountant, what are these roles? So once you've understood the role, answering these questions will become very easy. Number two, you're supposed to research about your employer. Number two, you're supposed to research about your employer. And when you talk about the employer here, the person who is giving you that job. When I talk, sometimes when I tell people to research about their employer, we have the hiring agency. So instead of researching the employer, they research the hiring agency. For instance, we have the Glassdoors, we have the Fuzu, we have all these other agencies. So it's always very key, research your employers. And when it comes to researching your employers, don't just go research about when they started, their history, don't research about their mission, their vision. Go an extra mile, research their services. Because the advantages of researching your employer and making notes about your employer is that when you'll be giving your answers during the job interview, it will be so easy for you now to relate these two things, especially what you read on the website, what you've maybe read on their social platforms, and the kind of examples that you are giving. So when you're told to give an example, at least you can give an example that relates to what you read about your employer. Sometimes I get people invited for health kind of sectors, but they end up giving examples in real estate, some things that are totally unrelatable. So always ensure that you do your due diligence, research about your employer. Do they have satellite offices? What makes them stand out? What are the weaknesses that they have? And in that case, you as the perfect candidate that fits that position, how can you help them solve the problem, or how can you be advantageous into their solution? In some instances, you can be asked a question and you answer questions in a way that makes you look superb. Just the other time, I was going through maybe your social media platform, your website platform. I realized this shortcoming, and with a kind of experience I bring on board, I'm believing that I can be of great help to this organization. You've even gone ahead to pinpoint some of the shortcomings that they have. When I talk about shortcomings, I'm not asking you to go and look for things that will downgrade that organization. I'm just in relation to your role, some kind that, as in any kind of challenge that they are facing, you pick that challenge. After picking that challenge, now make it your core mandate now to give it, and as in give out an example. You're supposed to research about your motivation. When I talk about motivation, why are you applying? As in, why did you apply for the job? Was it money? Was it career growth? Or why exactly? What is your main reason of applying for that job? You also need to research about your achievements and backgrounds. So when you talk about achievements, if you've been in the industry for some time, if you've been employed and you're looking to change now positions, what are some of the achievements that you can bring to the table that when you are told to give examples, or what is your background? How did you get to where you are? And from where you are, what can you help the employer do? Research about your skills, research about your qualities and your weaknesses. We cannot be jacks of all trades. You'll find that we'll be strong in some points, but in some other places we might be weak. So what makes you the strongest candidate, and what are some of the shortcomings that can come between you and getting the job? Then you need to research your own questions. When I talk about researching your own questions to ask after the interview, most people always, if the employer has not asked about the salary, that is the only questions that come into mind. So how much are you paying for this job? What is the remuneration for this job? It's always paramount that you research your own questions. And when you're researching questions, don't just research any question. Some of us end up asking questions that were asked during that were in the job description. So when you're doing the research, I think along the way we are going to see what kind of questions are you supposed to be asking. And this is almost 99% of the candidates I've interviewed, we've had the session with, they tell me, how do I ask a question? Because there are some questions that if you ask, you look stupid. There are some questions that when you ask, at least it shows the employer you are thinking outside the box. This is just a reminder, because imagine what we are sharing today is just a skeleton of what to expect on the premium sessions. We are onboarding the first cohort, which already I think we only have around 16 slots remaining. So if you wish to be part of this, we have 16 slots remaining. You can book your session and get to experience the step-by-step training on how to go about the job search, on how to maybe apply for these positions, and then on how to prepare for the interview, which some part of what will be trained there is what I'm just brushing through, so that at least you can get the overview. We'll share details on how you can be part of this session. So we'll be having this session. Remember, when I started this year, I decided to help as many people get these job positions, because my own story, I did lose my job and was jobless for around 6 years. I know what it takes to be jobless, the frustrations that come through it. And I know the feeling that comes when you're working in that job, that you're feeling suffocated and you just want a way out. So this is why we came up with these sessions, to help you at least to help you excel and find ways in which you can succeed. So if you're interested in that cohort session, the session will be on Tuesday and most probably on Wednesday, where we'll be sharing about this. And I'm really looking forward to onboarding. So if you are willing, if you want to be there among 16 slots left, we'll share the details so that at least you can book. Remember, it's a first come, first serve. You've prepared for the interview, and now there are some questions that you need to ask yourself. These questions will give you, and sorry, because I'm having a flu, so you might feel like I'm talking with my nose. I want to cancel the class, so you'll have to bear with me. So you've done your research. You have what it takes now to ace the interviews. There are these questions that will make you think outside the box. So what do I know about this type of work? You need to, if you can make notes, well and good. If you can record yourself answering the questions, well and good. Number 2, what attracts me to this type of work? Number 3, what relevant work experience have I done that makes me the best candidate for this job? Number 4, what kind of training or additional skills am I hoping to gain? And then number 5, what have I done to find out more about this kind of work? This is why interview preparation is not about just reading the JD, reading the CV, and then once you're done, you're ready to tackle the interview. If you've spent a lot of time in preparing for the interview that you're going to take, you'll find it now easier, even when it comes to expressing yourself, so that you don't be like, my name is Winnie Situma, and Winnie Situma is like, you see those kind of mamas, you find a way on how you can overcome them and at least be in a position whereby you can be flawless. So these questions will help you open up your mind, and it will discover the discrepancies, the areas that you've not researched well enough, and it will now enable you go back and research on those areas. So once you've asked yourself the occupational questions, you need to ask yourself the self-knowledgeable questions. Why do I want this job? Do I want this job for money? Do I want this job for experience? Do I want this job for career growth? Or do I want this job as a stepping stone to starting my own company? Number 2, why am I a suitable candidate, and what evidence do I have for this? In their job description, I saw that they were looking for somebody with 5 years experience in the accountancy industry. Yes, I've been there for 5 years. They're looking for somebody with experience in the spreadsheets and the databases. This is something that I have. They're looking for somebody with a proven track record of meeting targets, especially it's somebody who at least have sold maybe services, somebody who have sold either products. This is something that I have. So as you note these ones down, what it happens, it makes you now accustom yourself with the job. It makes you accustom yourself with the job description, and it also makes you feel comfortable, so that when it comes to time of answering questions, you'll feel comfortable with the kind of questionnaires that you receive. I don't know if we're on the same page. Okay. So, your questions. When we talk about your questions, I hope we're on the same screen. You will alert me if we are not on the same screen. Sometimes internet can decide to discipline you a little. So when you talk about your questions, you need to prepare 2 or 3 in advance. So do you have any questions for us? I think before we finish this session, we are going to see what are some of the questions you can ask to at least prevail you, or to show that you are the best candidate, or you are somebody who thinks about asking, as in who thinks outside the box. Avoid asking questions that you may already have been told about in the recruiting materials. Recognize that the questions give you a giveaway how much you know. If you've done your research well, at least you know the exact questions to ask so that you don't restrict yourself with what is the salary, what are some of the advantages that people get when they work for you. Do you guys offer remote work experience? You can ask questions that proves to the employer that you're somebody who thinks outside the box. If you have had all your questions answered, say so. So don't ask too many questions, as in don't ask too many if time runs out. Remember, I said in an interview, it only takes the 5 minutes to determine whether you are going to proceed to the next step or not. And this 5 minutes, the first moment you open your mouth to talk about who you are, there are things, at least it will shift the perception of 80, as in around 70% of the panel. They'll decide whether they want to listen to you. They'll decide whether they want to draw cartoons on their interviewing sheets. So the first 5 minutes, answering the first 2 questions will clearly determine that. So don't ask too many questions if these guys are already bored with you. So when we talk about body language, these are some of the nitty-gritties, but they're always very important. Sometimes when you get to an interview where you are just 2 of you, maybe you and the hiring manager, you'll find that some of us will go and shake. If it comes to shaking hands, they'll be like, you're shaking somebody's hand, but your hands are trembling. Ensure that you give a firm handshake. Number 2, ensure that you maintain eye contact. Maintaining eye contact shows you are confident, shows they are the best candidate, and it also shows that you are sure of what you're doing. So you need to maintain eye contact. Smiling is a better way of hiding your tension. So when I talk about, because every time nobody wants to be examined. Even myself, sometimes if you examine me on the kind of test that I give, I'll feel tense. But the only way to do this is I'll keep a smiley face throughout the interview to create that rapport. There's also sitting position, the way you sit in an interview. Some of us cross our legs, some of us sit there shaking our legs, some of us sit maybe leaning in the back. So always ensure that you have an open posture, so you don't look down, to ensure that at least you maintain that eye contact. Always look neat and professional. Avoid wearing jeans, shorts when you're attending this interview. So adopt appropriate dress code. You need to listen actively. This is also a tip I show the people I interview. Asking the employer, as in asking the hiring manager to repeat the question, does not make you numb. What it makes you, it gives you time to internalize the question asked, and it also gives you time now to try to find ways in which you can answer these questions. By asking the interviewer or the hiring manager to repeat the questions, it doesn't mean that you're not attentive. It means that you want to clearly get. And how do you buy time if you've been asked a question that you don't understand? What you need to do is either ask the interviewer to pardon the question or try reframing the question. Do you mean you are asking me about an example of what I did in A, B, C, D? If that is what they are asking for, they'll say yes. If that is not what they are asking for, it will give the interviewer time to elaborate more on that question. As they elaborate, it will trigger your thought pattern to start putting answers in place. So I want to talk about what not to do, because I think they are opposite of what you're supposed to do. When it comes now to answering questions, listen carefully and answer the questions. There are people, and I've seen it in so many occasions, Thank you. For instance, somebody comes, hey, thank you, Robert. You can kindly take the seat. So, Robert, we've seen, we've read your CV, we've blah, blah, blah. So kindly tell us about, my name is Robert, blah, blah. I have experience in, give time. Let these people ask the question. You can give a 2 seconds or a 3 seconds pause just to show that you are internalizing. Don't be like too eager to answer the questions in a manner that shows the interviewer that this person is not even listening to what I'm saying. The moment they've just had tell us about, even if the interviewer has not finished asking the questions, you've picked, like what you're doing is you are listening to reply, but you're not listening to internalize. So it's always very key that you listen carefully and answer the question that you've been asked, especially for that example that I've just given. Hey, Robert, tell us about yourself in regards to what you did in ABCD. But you didn't give the employer or the interviewer a chance to finish asking you the questions. You have crammed somewhere on how the best way to talk about yourself, even without listening. You'll end up narrating. By the time you do that, you'll find it all gone in that. You'll find it that whatever the interviewer is, as in the interviewer wanted to ask you, you've already lost this person. And in that case, you find that in most cases, you might go there I don't know if you've ever found yourself, you've only been asked 3 questions, and then the interviewer tells you, okay, thank you so much for spending your time, as in for creating time. We'll get back to you. What this shows is this person is tired of you. This person wants to chase you away, and you'll take time waiting and waiting and waiting so that you get to chase you away. Like you'll wait for them to call you for the interview, but they just wanted a way to face you out. A point I'll reiterate: seek clarification if necessary. Don't go there second guessing like whatever the employer meant. Seek clarification for something that you have not understood. Always have evidence to support claims. When I talk about evidence to support claims, these are when you're doing your due diligence, when you're doing your research, there are things that we talked about that you are supposed to note. So it's always important that it's always important that you have supporting evidence to support the claims that you make. If it's a testimonial, if it's a case study, through thinking through them, it gives the interviewer a chance at least to believe what you're doing. If you have the testimonials, if you have the client's recommendations, if you have maybe some online reviews, try to carry this into an interviewing room so that it gives these people a chance to know you better. Sometimes because the employer wanted us to talk about the teamwork when you're answering questions. During our time at my former employer, we did this, we did this, we did this, we did this. Remember, it is not about what you guys did, it's about your contribution. So focus on your personal contributions to that particular project that made it a success. So when you talk about personal contribution, what is it that you did to this? Was it leadership? Was it technical support? So with as much as you like using the word we, because they were looking for somebody who is a team player, remember, we are not in the interview. You are in the interview. So talk more about what you did and how you helped those people do what they do. So describe the positive outcomes. I did this. No, this was the situation. This is what I did. The action that I took was this, and the result was this. Be specific with your answers. There are people, I've seen people, they know the answers, yes, but before they get to answer before they get to give their answers, then first fly to Nairobi, then take the flight maybe to Uganda, then take the flight maybe to South Africa, then take the flight to America and give their answers in Canada. So by the time, like, you've narrated stories that you're not asked, always try to be as specific as possible. And the best way to do this is, the best way to be specific as possible is we use what we call the STAR method. And when we talk about the STAR method, this is whereby when you're asked an answer, give the situation, especially where you've been told to describe something. Give what the situation. During my at my current employment, I had in several occasions to deal with difficult clients. And when dealing with these difficult clients, this is what I did. So you're supposed to, first of all, present the situation, then present the task that is involved in that situation, present the actions that you took, and then present the results of your actions. So situation will earn you 10% of the points, task will earn you 10%, but the actions, what you did, will earn you the 70%, then the results will earn you the 10%. The STAR methods works across almost all, but it doesn't apply to all. So when you're given an interview question, always ensure you prevent, especially for the describe part, ensure you give the situation, the task involved, the actions you took, and the results that you are able to come up with. I hope if we are having questions, we can keep them onto the chat session. So, preparation and positive attitude. Make a strong first impression. The way you walk in, the way you talk, the way you sit will clearly tell me if you are a confident candidate or not. There is this saying that you need to leave it until you make it. In other words, they say you need to fake it until you make it. You can walk into an interviewing room very tensed, but there's a way you can hide that tension to an extent that me as the interviewer, I don't get chance to know. So the first impression that you make, you walk there, you tense. If it is you're interviewing with one person, do the handshakes. Sit in a very confident body language, because your body language will always tell me a lot. I've seen people, they are very good candidates. They can present themselves so well. But when they walk into the interview room, what happens is you'll find that they have dropped their papers there. They want to pick their papers there. They've been told to give maybe a letter showing a letter showing something to do with compliance. They want to take time, peruse, because they are tense and they can't take their time to at least calm down and tackle the interview process with tranquility. So your body language is always key. Number 2, speak slowly and speak clearly. Some of us, we cram so much, and sometimes we become very overconfident. The interview was good, and I had the opportunity to, the interview was good. I had the opportunity, the panel was so happy about me. But you are speaking so quickly until, to an extent that the panel could not understand clearly what you are talking about. So it's always talking, as in speaking slowly and clearly, speaking slowly and clearly gives adds some confidence into you, in that they'll know that, okay, I can, from how he's speaking, he's sure of what he's saying. The moment you speak as fast as possible, some of them might not even get a chance to understand you. And that is when you'll get that you're interviewing somebody, and what they are, either they are looking onto their watch, they are chatting over their phone, or they are writing something down which is not related to your interview. Answer the question that you've been asked. Answer the question that you've been asked. This is always key. Hey, Vivian, can you tell us about yourself? My name is Vivian. I have 10 years experience in this X industry. I am a strong candidate for this position because I possess skills this and this and this. And in my previous work, I have tried to be as much as a team player as possible. This is what I've done to show that I'm a team player. Stick to the question you've been asked. This one is why the people I coach, I give a formula on how they're supposed to answer these questions. Keeping your answers precise to the point is always key. I'd rather you give short, precise answers and then wait for the interviewer, for the interviewers to ask you to elaborate on that point. You might spend a lot of time trying to ask yourself, showing yourself that you know. This is just a turn-off. Find a way of answering your questions as precise as possible. If you're having a problem on how to answer these questions, this is something I will tackle in my premium session that is upcoming on Tuesday. What is the structure that you're supposed to use, and how do you ensure that you keep to the point? Be sure of your strengths and how they apply to the job. Don't describe your problem-solving skills in a place where critical thinking is needed. Or don't present your leadership skills in a place where communication is needed. You might be strong in communication skills, but this does not mean if you're strong in communication skills, that makes you to become a leader. So always ensure that you be sure of your strength and then how they apply to the job you are applying for. Remember when we started the session, we said you are supposed to do your due diligence. And when you're doing your due diligence, matching your skills with the job description will help you now when you're answering these questions. Be succinct. Try to avoid yes or no questions. So in your previous role, did you ever quarrel with your manager? And if that is the case, how did you go about it? No, I didn't. At least try to elaborate on your point so that at least you try to avoid the yes or no questions. Be interesting and enthusiastic. There are people who I've seen people walk into my interviewing room because I get the opportunity sometimes to sit in a lot of panels. Somebody is so tired, somebody is stressed up, and they're using this as a pity to either gain the attention of their employer. Nobody wants to bring problems into their organization. Genuinely, you might be undergoing stuff, but when you're walking into an interviewing room, always ensure that you leave your baggage outside. They don't let them see a strong person that they are bringing on board, not a charity, somebody that they are going to help out of charity. Live positively. Thank the interviewer. One thing, always try as much as possible not to talk negatively about your former employer, about your manager, or about anything to do with the job. Don't be a whiner. Focus on the positives, focus on your contribution, focus on if maybe there was a situation that needed you solved. Always finish that positivity, always finish that interview with or that question with a positive outcome. Thank the interviewer and thank the interviewer for giving you the opportunity, and you can even give an extension that you're looking forward to. Forward to them calling you in future.
Could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you.
Okay. After the interview, review your performance critically. So you need to know what went well or not. So what do you see? As in, where do you see you performed maybe averagely, poorly? take those notes and use that experience to your next interview. Don't just, after you've gotten the regret, after you're done with the interview, don't just wait for the next, don't just wait for their confirmation. Take time, review, because this one will be a learning lesson for you. If you performed poorly on the behavioral questions, find how you can improve. If you performed poorly on the technical questions, get more time and see how you can improve, because interview should be a learning process. But most of us think that the interview ends the time maybe they've walked out of the interviewing room. So it's very important that you take your time, you review your performance, and then you note down these places so that when you are called in for the next interview, you don't start afresh. You know, at least on this particular sector, this is where I performed well. On this particular sector is where I did perform well and I need to improve. Make notes and then ask for feedback. It's always important to let these people know when are they going to communicate with you, so that if they don't communicate within that timeline, at least you can send a follow-up email just to get to know what things, as in where things are with the hiring process. Don't get discouraged if you don't get called for, as in don't get discouraged if you don't get that job. Treat each interview as a chance to develop your skills. I can tell you, I'm a perfect example of this. I remember during my job hunting days, even attending the interview wasn't easy. And I understand the frustration of you applying for these jobs, but you don't get called for this interview. One thing we said in our previous session that I think this is just an addition to this because it is a question I get asked a lot. Nowadays, most hiring agency, and I take this one in capital letters, most hiring agency are using job seekers as a traffic in their platform. And this is why you'll visit most of these agencies and there will be ads running on their platform. Before you open a job, at least you have to click on an ad. So some of them are posting jobs that they don't have contract with the employer. With you, you'll spend your time applying for this position, hoping to be called for an interview. But what's funny, you'll get for instance, if you're in Kenya, you'll get the job posted on Fuzu, you'll get the job posted on corporate staffing, you'll get the job posted on myjobs.com, you'll get the job posted on Glassdoor. One question that you need to ask yourself, if this employer is looking for candidate, how comes if, for instance, you've applied through Fuzu, they are going to call you for an interview. You've applied through Career Point, they're going to call you for an interview, and yet you'll be complaining that you're not getting this job. I can tell you one of the reasons as to why you apply to so many jobs but you don't get called for an interview is you're applying to fake jobs. And after this, just go and take, for an example, the job that you applied for yesterday, the job that you applied for, the job that you applied today, how many sites does this job appear? And if you are an employer looking to hire a candidate, how sure are you that all these hiring agencies are going to produce candidates for this job? So in the training that you're going to have that is upcoming, we are going to see how do you authenticate the validity of job application so that you don't spend your resources, you don't spend your time applying for bogus jobs. Number two, there is also experience. This is why sometimes you find it so hard for you to get the interview. In the past, it was easy for you to get the interview in that you'll find that you put a job advert outside there and then get maybe less than 50 applications. But right now, if you put a job advert outside there, you'll realize that you'll attract so many applications that sometimes might be even difficult for the employer to go through. So this has led to the emergence of the ATS, something we call the automatic tracking system, whereby the CVs have to be subjected to a system, pick the best candidates. But even in that, you can find that there are jobs that attract more than 10,000 applicants. You cannot feed the 10,000 applicants onto the system. You'll maybe select the first 5. You might be having the best CV, you might be having the qualified experience, but you'll find that you are not amongst these people who are qualified, as in who are selected by the system for the interviewing process. So I'm really looking to dive into this topic of job application so that at least we know before you apply for that job, what are you supposed to do? What are some of the things that you're supposed to look for to authenticate if these people are hiring or not? So these are some of the things we are going to cover. And in our previous masterclass, we agreed that it is paramount that you apply for less than 10 jobs maybe in a week, but apply for quality jobs than sending 300 applications only to end up sending bogus application. And I've seen this one with LinkedIn too. Everybody is looking for numbers. And the only way to get the first numbers is to post jobs and tell maybe the job applicants to send you their CVs. And the first thing that if they send, you'll find that some of them even leave conditions of if you want to get this job, you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel, you need to subscribe to my newsletters, you need to maybe do this in my website. And this is why so many job seekers are falling prey of such kind of people. I've also seen people who are scamming job seekers for money. Before I give you this position, you need to give out this amount of money. Once you get the job, then we'll agree on the kind of cut that you are going to take. So as somebody who is attending these webinars, what are the skills that you can come out of so that the next time you're going to apply for that job, you know the exact thing that you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to revise, to research about that, and you can even go steps further and of some things that we'll cover in that session on how to authenticate the same. So this is why we are coming up with this session. I'm going to dedicate my time to ensure that I hit the 100,000 people that I will impact through job seeking, job search, and even interviews. As we speak right now, I'm at around 3,000 people that I've impacted in one way or the other. And I look forward to impacting more. So I'll be having this training, most free training for those of us who cannot maybe able in one reason or the other access the premium training, but still we'll have this premium training on how to walk through the process of job search. If you get the steps of job search clearly, it will be so easy for you now to ace the interviews because you won't be wasting your time to scammers online and attention seekers online. My parting shot to these people listening here is be very careful with people you trust with your documents, with people you trust your time to advise you on things career-wise. Some of these people, of which some of them I've known personally, are people that they have not been employed anywhere, but this is somebody who is advising you on your careers through through like, there are people who doesn't have experience. And even when it comes to CVs, because there's an interesting question that somebody asked me, what is the difference between a CV and a ratio? You'll find that you've been asked for a ratio, but because this person does not understand, you get that what they do is, they prepare you something that looks like a CV and the company has asked you for a ratio. So I'm not saying you should do your services with me, but what I mean is do your due diligence before you hire somebody to work on your CV, because you'll realize that the person working on your CV is somebody who is operating on luck. I'll do this CV if they get the job, well and good. I'll take you through the career coaching if you make it well and good. So thank you so much for taking the opportunity. Remember, we've said on the Tuesday session, we only have 16 slots left. We'll be having other cohorts coming, but I would have really loved to have the numbers. I would have really loved to have the numbers. I would have really loved to have all of us in that session. So I'll open the questions to answers as we go through now the questions on the chat section. Anyone with a question, you just raise your hand, then you unmute and speak. Anyone with a question?
Hi, this is more of a comment. So thank you so much, Calvin, for all the gems you've given us and all the information. I think I just want everyone to remember that when you do go for an interview, your interview doesn't start in the interview room. It starts as soon as you enter the offices. When you meet the receptionist and introduce yourself and tell them who you're there to see, because that's when they're kind of watching you. So if you're rude to the receptionist, that can actually, what do you call it? It can hamper your chances of getting the role. So just remember that as soon as you walk into those offices, you're being watched, and your interview will start and end when you leave. Basically, that's what I think personally.
Thank you so much, Vivian. Any other person?
Yes, Calvin.
Yes, Brian.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Now, there's usually a question they ask when they tell you to talk about your weaknesses. How best can someone answer such a question without putting yourself in danger of not getting the job?
Thank you. When you're told to talk about your weak, there's a way you can present your weakness. Can be your positive, but I'll still use the STAR method. For instance, maybe you're somebody who likes you're somebody who is thorough in what they do, and you believe that you're the best person who can do that job perfectly. So your weakness is in delegation. You don't like delegating to other people. So how is this? First of all, it's positive to be thorough. Secondly, sometimes for you to work fast, you need to delegate your duties. I am very thorough at what I do, of which sometimes it makes me slow the team, because I still have to go to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. But I've been working on this to ensure that we work together with my team. I explained to them what I expect. And as we speak right now, at least I can delegate some of the tasks that I have to the team, and I've trusted the team that they are doing the best that they can do. This one has increased the team morale, because now at least they see their value is being, as in their contribution is being valued. Remember, the weakness that you've talked about is something which is a positive, but it's on a negative on the other side. So when you're told to describe these weaknesses, number one, you can find that your weakness can be that you are workaholic. Sometimes you like spending time in the office, and to an extent that you forget that you need to have a work-life balance. You've been taking, like for instance, you're in the office the whole day working on a project, but because you want to finish this project so much, you carry your laptop home to continue with the work until late in the midnight. So my weakness is that sometimes I try to carry work home, but I've been working and disciplining myself in that I have my task. Like if I get to the office, I have what I need to do, so that at least I can spend some time with my family. So you're not supposed to just to talk about the negative. There are some things that can be detrimental to the company, but the way you present them, you see it as a weakness, and you see on how you can perfect such particular skills. I don't know if I've answered you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. If you failed an interview, I'll go through the chat session. If you failed the interview in an organization and the same job re-advertised by the same organization, is it healthy to reapply? Would like to tackle that? I want this part to be interactive. If you failed an interview in an organization and the same job re-advertised by the same organization, is it healthy to reapply again. Oh, okay. Okay, yes, it is healthy to reapply, but also you have to ask yourself these questions. The organizations that you'll see a post on their platform whereby the job, they keep on advertising the same job over and over again. Sometimes it doesn't make sense seeing the apply. Let's say, for example, you applied for that job in January, still December, they've not gotten the best candidate. Chances are that when you get to apply to this job again, it will keep on reappearing. But if you applied for it and it has been advertised within a span of 3 months, it is healthy to reapply, because from that, remember what we said, that you are supposed to use this as a learning process, whereby you get to understand where you performed well, where you didn't perform well, so that at least when you apply, it becomes now easier for you to give it the second attempt. But you need to be very careful. I've seen organization advertising for a position for more than 2 years. Does it mean that there's no exact person who can do that particular job? If you see a job that prolongs between 8 months, they're still advertising for that post, I wouldn't advise you to waste your time on that position. Do I keep changing the skills on my CV to in line with job description apart from transferable skills? Yes, it is very key. Remember, when these people are doing their job advert, what you'll realize is they have specific requirements that they want and specific skills that you possess. You should ensure that you try to match these skills as fast as possible. But something to take note, you'll find that the people putting out these job adverts maybe are the junior staffs in an organization. So what will they do? They'll check for similar adverts. They put it in the job description and change maybe the details to match. So you always need to be keen. But as you describe, as you change this, maybe these job skills always be sure that you've done your due diligence about the company, what they do, and what you can bring on the table. So this one will help you. This one will help you even in that process. So yes, my answer to you is yes, always try to match the skills in the job description and in your CV. So thank you for this session. How do I handle interviews concern that I am overqualified for the role? I feel the role could be a stepping stone. Also, is there something like too low job to apply? Some questions are hard to answer. Yes, you might find that due to one reason or the other, the candidate, as in the hiring manager or the organization, turns you down because you are overqualified or something. What you need to do, if you're given the opportunity to defend yourself, you need to let these people that you are not coming in as a threat, and you'll do whatever it takes possible to ensure that you blend with the team and you bring your wealth of experience. There is always, I can't say that there's a low job to apply, because just giving my example, it's a 4,000 shillings job that made me leave the company earning around 80,000 shillings. I was overqualified for the job, but I applied anyway. Because when you're applying for this job, these people don't know your skills. And what happens is when you accept the offer, you'll get the opportunities that match with your skills. When you start executing these opportunities, as in these roles and duties, it will make you automatically get the position that you deserved. I got an opportunity to work with an organization. I was being paid 4,000 shillings. So when I went there, I showed them that I had something that they needed, but they didn't know I had it within me. I did my job perfectly well. My salary rose between 4,000 to around 80,000 in a span of 5 months, because I was good at what I was doing. When they were hiring me, they didn't know about my skills. It was like, we don't have a position for you. But then I help them increase their sales. I help them increase their social media platforms, and I made their brand grow. That increased my salary from 4,000 to around 8,000. I understand sometimes situations can make you apply for jobs that you're too overqualified for. But as if you want to build your ladder, at least you have to start from somewhere. Most of the job vacancy are so specific on experience. Can somebody apply if he doesn't not meet the experience periods given? Yes, if it's experience period, yes, apply. But if it's educational, something to do with the education, something to do with the skills that you don't have, I would rather advise you not to apply for those positions. If it's years, when you're told, because it's always like the best candidate is not always the ones that gets hired, but the way you present yourself in that interview is what will make you to be hired or not. How can one go about job advertised, but one does not have required years of experience through he has matching skills? Always spend more time explaining your skills, and when you're doing your cover letter and your summary, elaborate more on the skills that you possess and how your skills can be of detrimental or can be of help to that organization, so that you lack the years of experience, but you have the relevant skills to help the organization grow. So the skills that you possess, always ensure that you present them. How can they be of help, or how can they be of addition to the company? Samuel says, how can one go about, companies advertise a lot of vacancy, maybe at different intervals. And when you apply to many different, the company may spend a long time getting back to you. And on getting back to you, it's by email, maybe not mentioning the role. So how do I prepare myself in that situation? Yes, it's sometimes, remember I said, it's better you apply for 10 quality application than applying to 100 applications. So it's always good to have, you can either have, I think we covered it in our previous session, whereby we said you can have your Google documents, or you can even note them somewhere. I've applied for this position in this particular organization. And it's always easy. Once you have your Google Docs, you just apply and then leave it there. So what you'll be doing is updating your Google Docs. Today I made application in company A, B, C. These were the positions that I applied for, number 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you're called for an interview, at least when you check, you'll see that for this particular role, it was within this company. But what happens sometimes, you'll find that an organization maybe puts up an advert for an accountant. You send in your CV to apply for this role, but when they realize that, okay, once they've hired the accountant, they'll come in again to look for a candidate. But if for a different, either for finance role, you might have not applied for that job, but because they told you that they'll keep your CV and contact you in future, your CV comes in. What is key to understand always when you are called for an interview, especially if it's via the phone, it's always easy. At least you can have the conversation and try to find out from the employer. Even through the email, it can be easy. You just mirror what the email says. Hey, thank you for inviting me for this interview. But just to know, there's some things that are required, like that you require me to carry for this specific role. Or can you just give me some more details about what is expected of me on the interview sessions? So that thread, you can find them revealing the position that they're interviewing for, even if it's something that you didn't apply for. I was dealing with such a scenario today where one of my clients was invited for the interview. What they were told is, come on Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. East African time for the interview. But they don't have a clue of ever applying for that job. Because sometimes I get the CVs and I recommend people for positions even without, sometimes maybe somebody is looking for the best as digital marketing person. amongst the people that you're in contact with, I know somebody who can do that job. What I do is I send in their CV. But there's a way you can have that, prolong the conversation even in the email to get to understand what is expected of you. If a company advertises like 5 job opportunities and I have matching skills, maybe learned or through that, would you advise me to apply for all of the jobs, or I have to take up a single role? Out of these jobs, what makes you the best candidate? Sometimes being everywhere, it shows that you are not sure of what you're doing. And if it's somebody who can go through 5 of your application, it will like, this person is trying their luck and they're not sure of what they are doing. I would suggest that you stick to 1 or at most 2, and please check if either they have the same day interviewing, if they are all interviewing on the same day, check. But if you can do your best, always stick to 1 position in 1 organization. We have cases where the job advert does not state the employer. How do you research and go about this preparation? We have cases where the job advert does not state the employer. Yeah, sometimes it's always key. It's always key because remember what I said is most of these hiring agencies, they are looking for traffic. And because they know if you go to their website or if you contact them, you might find that they are not hiring. It's always key for, and what I tell most candidates is if it's not through talent search, if it's me, that is now my personal view is I'll try to avoid these positions that does not have employer. Because for you to prepare for something, you need to know where you are going to work. And it might be a challenge working in blanket, like you're working in darkness. You don't know the company that you're working for. If you can get into contact with these people and ask them, may I know more about the employer I'm dealing with, or even the industry, what they deal with, at least that can give you an overview of that. But I understand if somebody is putting job outside there, if somebody wants you to work with an organization, at least it is sometimes paramount or ethical just to put the employer's name so that they can get to, at least you can get to do your due diligence. A job advert may be requiring a degree holder and I have a diploma or certificate, but I have the relevant skills and expertise required. Is it advisable to apply, or will I be rejected on this? This question, I gave it with an answer. One day I was called for an interview and I was the only master's holder in that interview. So what happened is when we started, we were around 4 of us, and the people we were with, some of them were certificate holders and some of them were diploma holders. I was overconfident that I was going to get hired because in the job application, they were looking for somebody with a degree and above, and all these other guys did not have the degree. What am I trying to say? I failed that interview terribly. I was the last person, and the certificate person, they ended up employing the person with certificate. In the past, education was key, but today what matters most is what can you do for me? If you can sell yourself and present yourself maybe through your cover letter and your resume, the degree is just maybe added advantage. And even most companies are preferring to hire either the diploma or the certificate holders. Why? Because these guys are like, they are so much focused onto the how to do things as compared to some of, not all, but some of the degrees. You'll find that somebody has a degree in something that they do not understand. So it all depends on how you can sell yourself. If you can help me solve the problem that my organization is having, I won't mind if you have a degree, if you have a certificate, because after all, what I'm looking for is a solution. So don't self-limit yourself. It all depends with how you present yourself. Okay, Caroline, I've seen your text. Kindly share the PowerPoint in the group if You will? Okay, I think I'll do that, being that this is the free session. How do you respond to the question seeking weakness without jeopardizing? I think that was answered. Are there things that one would do? I think that one we understand, we covered. Okay. What is the criteria of the handshake? Is there criteria of the handshake? I'm trying to look at, but sometimes you get there, you get welcomed, you shake hands, and then maybe you'll be invited to speak. It doesn't have this criteria because it depends with the setup. If it is more than one panel, if there are two people, yes. If there are 6 panelists, just give a general greetings, because shaking hands, sometimes some people are always so reserved when it comes to shaking. So if there are more 2 people, you can shake hands with them. But if there are more than 5, or if there are 4, no, not really. I would just advise that you give a warm welcoming greetings. Can I be unsuccessful due to show up late in 5 minutes? Hence, yes, timekeeping is key. If you're supposed to be there, if you're told to be there in 15 minutes earlier, and you show up 5 minutes late, you can be the best candidate, but timekeeping is key. And remember, we talked about perception, the first perception that you leave. So always try not to be late. Yes, there are some instances that might make you be late, which are understandable, but always try to communicate earlier. But nowadays, something to do with the traffic, I was held in traffic, you should have left early. So with as much as some people will forgive you for that, there are people who will take it serious, because maybe that might have been the key, quality that they were looking to get. How do I go about, the questions are many, but I'll try to tackle them. And what I'll advise, if I've not tackled your question here, you can share the questions to the group, and I will try to tackle the questions there too. Where these questions? I think let us open the panel. We get like 4 questions. I'll try to go through them and answer some of them in the group. And maybe this is a point that I would like to share. The reason as to why we created this group is majorly for learning and sharing opportunities. Sometimes you find that you'll wake up to a lot of messages in the groups, To an extent, it might prevent people from grasping what is key. I would advise that I've tried as much as possible to give feedbacks to people who have reached out to me on the inbox. I have a team dedicated to doing that, but let us try to keep the group as interactive, but without necessarily having so many text messages. If somebody has an opportunity that they would like to share, don't just share a position that was shared with you. If it's something that you are sure about, that is what we'll be able to share in the group. So allow me open the floor. Anybody who would like to come in and ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Hello,
yes.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, my question is, I got interviewed. Okay, it was a headhunting for a certain position, and then I got a chance to be interviewed last month. So when I went for the interview, actually I was one for the position, and then I went in the interview. But then afterwards, I thought it would be a quick process, like in a week. So it's now like 2 weeks to 3, and I haven't received any feedback. Last week, I sent a follow-up email on the position, and the HR told me that the panelists had put a hold on that marketing role. So does that mean that I wasn't suitable enough for the role, or should I wait? And what should I do in this waiting process?
That shows that the organization has not yet decided on who they want to pick, and either they're interviewing other candidates, or they just don't want to become forthright with you to tell you that already we had somebody for this position who has failed there. You know, there are some people who always don't like delivering bad news. So what I can tell you is if you've sent a follow-up, and that is because if an organization takes time to decide on the best candidate, it's always, I don't know, I'm getting my connection is unstable. Can you hear me? Please let me know. So if an organization is taking time to hire a candidate, it shows they're not sure, or tentatively they're interviewing people for other positions. Sometimes it might take more than a month before they call you, because they're still ish about you. So with as much as you may have hopes of being called, once they've put on hold on that, I would suggest for your psychological stability, you can at least give it a 10% chance that you're not going to be, 90% chance that they're not going to call you, so that at least you don't waste your energy following up on the same. Because if you follow up more than twice, they'll block you, or maybe you'll not hear from them again. Any other question? Yes, Caroline. Yes, Caroline Kitumbui, you can unmute and speak.
Thank you very much, Coach, for sharing all that important content. And I needed to ask yesterday.
I don't know if it
was told he was not going to. Sorry about that. At the end of the interview, he was told he'll not be selected because he was overconfident. So my question is, what are some of these things that you do that present you to be overconfident and to your disadvantage, and how best could we avoid them so that another time we don't fall short?
Number one is asking what you've not been told to answer. Number two is speaking too fast and not giving the panel time to deliberate or to digest what you're saying. Number three is like not giving maybe the panel time to finish asking the questions. And number four, sometimes you might be too short in the answers that you're giving, in that you're interviewing, it's like you're the person whose time is being wasted. Like I have somewhere else I need to go. But overconfidence is overgiving information, answering the questions you've not been asked, speaking too fast, like you want to assume that these guys are fast learners and they should catch up with whatever you're saying, and then disagreeing with the panel publicly.
Thank you.
Okay. Once you've made, I'm seeing some payments. Once you've made payments, kindly send me just your email address and your name on the side chat, so that at least we can book a session for you. Any other person with their question? All right. So I'm really looking forward to having these sessions, and each and every week I'll be giving either paid or free sessions so that as to help the job seekers. And it's my dream that together with your support, I'll hit my 100,000 impacting job seekers by December. and we'll be sharing these testimonies. Thank you so much. And just a reminder, so far I've seen 14, I've seen like 14 slots are remaining. If you want to be amongst the first cohort, you can book. I'll share the details on the page, and then I'm looking forward to having you. Thank you so much. If you have any questions that you'd like shared, you can ask it in the group, and I'll see the best way to answer that questions. Thank you so much, and it was an amazing session, and I look forward. I hope you learned much. I hope we got the opportunity to walk out with something new. Thank you so much, and see you. The people will be seeing on Tuesday, and I'll communicate the way forward on how long we'll be having these sessions. Thank you, and may God bless you. Do have a lovely night. See you on Tuesday. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. At least somebody can invite me for supper before they leave. I'm not eaten.
We had an opening prayer, but we are not having a closing prayer.
Sorry. Okay, you can pray for us, Sekatawa. Please, Samuel, please pray for us.
May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship
of the Holy Spirit
be with us all
now and forever.
and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, guys. See you.
See
Bye.
you.
Supper is ready, coach.
Please invite me. I'm just drinking water.
All right.
You and me.